Hello friends, welcome back. So in the last video, we have introduced the word of serverless, right? So now let's deep dive into the key architecture that makes serverless so powerful, the event-driven pattern. In the next few minutes, we will see how event connect our serverless function to build truly reactive systems. So if you have not watched my previous video, what is serverless, I would highly recommend to go to that video and please watch it. You will get the link in the I button. Thank you. So let's first understand what is event-driven pattern. So let's break down this event-driven pattern in few parts. So first thing, what is event? So to understand the event, right? Event is anything which you can imagine in your real life. Like suppose you have clicked the mouse button, that's an event. If you have pressed a key, that's an event. So if we talk about in the serverless world, so suppose you have called an API, that's an event, right? So event-driven architecture is a design paradigm where system components communicate through event rather than direct calls, right? So we'll see all these things with the examples. In serverless context, Lambda function act as event consumer that execute in response to trigger from various event sources, right? So if we search about event driven on the Google, right? So what is event driven in serverless, right? So let's see what it gives. So event-driven in serverless means building application where small independent functions like AWS, Azure function are triggered automatically by the events. So one thing is again and again coming in our mind is event, right? So that is file upload, database changes, API calls, and numerous events which occurs building the web applications and other things, right? So what is event? Let's deep dive into it. Event can be anything, like you are clicking a mouse, you are pressing a button, you are uploading a file, you are calling an API, everything is event. So if we understand in the serverless concept, so let's understand this way, like we have Lambda function, right? And if we want to invoke this Lambda by any means, right? So this Lambda takes an event. So that is called event, right? It can be invoked by suppose API gateway, right? Or it can be S3 bucket or SQS or SNS, anything, right? Suppose you have pushed a message to SQS, it will be invoked. So basically you can say one is publisher. Over here we have publisher, and we have consumer, right? We have consumer. So in the event driven pattern, two things are mandatory. One should publish the event and one should listen the event, right? So what is event? Event significant changes the states, right? So one is producer which produce and one is consumer which consume the events, right? Now if you see the Lambda, right, Lambda function, so you will get to know that we have two things. So what is Lambda, right? So let's go to Lambda, right? So create function from scratch. Hello world coding Jist. I have chosen the runtime, just creating a default function so that we can see what all things are there in the Lambda function, right? So while it is creating, let's wait. So it has created the Lambda function. So let's see the code, right? So why I'm coming over here, you will understand in a minute. So you can see that this function, so this is a function, right? Basically, so this function takes an argument, right? That is called event. So we need to understand this very thoroughly if we want to succeed in the serverless world, right? So there are two events. One is event, one is optional, that is context, right? So let's understand what is this event and this context. If you understand this event, you will understand the event driven pattern, right? So these are two things. Let me copy from here, right? Event, and this is context, event and context. So what is event? Event tell you what has happened to this Lambda, right? What triggered this Lambda? That is what the event tell you, right? Event contains the payload sent by the service that invokes the Lambda, right? So suppose S3 is invoking this Lambda, right? So as you have uploaded a file to the S3, where is file? You have a text file which has been uploaded to the S3 bucket. Then S3 will tell the Lambda that one file has been uploaded. That is the event. And how it knows? By the event. So this event parameter will tell you all the things, right? It answers the question why this Lambda invoked, right? And what are the data in this Lambda which is invoking, right? So just understand this event means what has triggered this Lambda and why this Lambda has been triggered. Now let's understand. So let me write here event. Event means what triggered the Lambda. Now what is context? Let me write here context. This means how or where this Lambda is running, right? How / where this Lambda is running, right? Like what is the runtime, what is the execution metadata. Basically this is a metadata. This is a metadata. So this tells what triggered the Lambda, and this context tells where the Lambda has been triggered, how it is running, right? So basically what does the event parameter give us, right? It gives us the request parameters, the object keys, and lot more other things. And the context is used for the debugging purpose, right? It is used for performance checks, grace, like we will see all these things in the practical. So the purpose for this is to know about input data, and here it tells us runtime metadata. So this is very helpful when you answer any interview question, right? What is difference between event and context, or what is event driven architecture, right? Or pattern. So you should understand what is event and what is context. So let's understand this more with one of the analogy. Event means, suppose you are receiving a letter, right? So from postman. So what does event means? The event means here the content and the sender, right? Suppose you have letter, so the event means content plus sender. So what is the content in the letter and who has sent it? So let me take this down to the top. Now what is context? Context means the metadata, right, on the envelope. Like it contains the tracking ID, delivery details, right? So I hope now you understood what is difference between event and context. This is a relevant information, right? And this is very important to understand what is event and context in the event-driven pattern. Now let's proceed further and understand how many types of events are there. So there are like synchronous event, then we have asynchronous event, and then we have something called streaming as well. Now let's understand with the example, right, what is a synchronous event. Right, suppose we have the API gateway, right, and then we have a Lambda. So once the API gateway triggers the Lambda, it will wait for its response, right? It will wait for its response so that it can be reverted back to the client, right? So normal API calls, right? You can say it as a synchronous event. What is asynchronous event? Asynchronous event is where suppose you have S3 bucket, you have a Lambda. Whenever suppose you have uploaded a file to the S3 bucket, it will asynchronously invoke the consumer, right? Suppose you have uploaded the file, then suppose you want suppose you have uploaded an image, right? Then you have you want that image to be compressed and to be created as a thumbnail, right? So the consumer will consume it, and then it will create a thumbnail, and it will again store in a bucket, right? So it takes some time. So here once it is uploaded, then another Lambda will be invoked, which will tell the consumer that your activity has been completed. So here you can see that the sender is not waiting for the response to come as immediately, right? Whenever the file will be processed, then it will get the notification. So this is called an asynchronous event. And when we say that streaming, right? So suppose you are continue receiving some logs to understand this, right? So suppose you are continuously receiving some logs, and to receive this you have Kinesis, and then this Kinesis will store it in the logs in the DynamoDB. Or if you want it to be processed first, then you can use the Lambda. It will do the batching, right? It will do the batching and then give to the Lambda, and it will process, and then it will be stored into the DynamoDB. So now you understood that what is synchronous event, what is asynchronous event, and what is streaming events. Let's understand one thing, that who all can trigger the Lambda, right? We said that one is publisher and one is consumer, right? So Lambda is a consumer over here. So who all can publish, that is very important. So to understand this, if we go to the triggers, right? So we will see all the sources over here who can invoke the Lambda. Like you can see the API gateway, code commit, watch logs, right? EventBridge, S3, SNS, SQS, Kafka, DynamoDB, NQ, and a lot more, right? So we will see all these things in a detail, that what is how we are triggering it, what is event and what is context in the practical example as well, right? So let's now understand. Now let's come on the practical part, right? So let's not wait for a longer time. So we have created one Lambda over here, right? So let me modify the code so that you can understand, or let's draw this architecture, right? Let's see the example of synchronous events, and one is asynchronous events, right? So we have one Lambda. Let me modify the code for this so that I can show you the things. So we have event, we have context. Okay, let me modify this. So basically what I have done, so we have event. Now I'm logging this event as well as an input, so that I can show you how it takes the input. So once you modify any code, the code in the Lambda, what you have to do, you have to deploy it, first. So we have completed our first part. We have created the Lambda. Now it is updated successfully. Now let's go to API gateway. We have API gateway over here now. Let me create an API. So we have different types of API, right? We have HTTP API, WebSocket API, REST API, REST API private. We'll see all this in different video. What is difference, when to use what. So as of now, I'm just using the simple HTTP API. Let me give the API name. Let me give it synchronous API test. Right. Let me go for the integration. I want to integrate the Lambda, and we created this hello world coding Jist. So let me choose this. Let me add the routes. I hope you understand what is route, what is API. Soon we'll bring one more video, what is difference between get, push, post, patch, and all this delete or any or options. These are very important things to know for a developer as well. If you are a beginner, then definitely it's very important. So slash hello, I have integrated. So I have created one API, right, in one route in the API. Let me say it is dev stage. Whenever we make change, it will auto deploy. Next. Now I believe it is ready for us. Create. Okay, so it is created. Let me go to the stage, the dev stage. So it has given us one invoke URL, right? So this is the domain where this API is hosted. So AWS provide you automatically this. So this is our stage, dev stage. As of now, I do not think that this is protected. This is just for testing. We will delete after the video is completed. So let me see that what has changed in the Lambda, right? So let me go to the Lambda function. Hello world. Now previously you have seen that, right? We do not have triggers over here. Now we got one trigger, right? The API gateway can trigger this Lambda. We can add more triggers over here, and we'll see what are layers, what are destinations, each and everything. Now let's see what has changed in the configuration part. Right, so one thing, if you see in the permission tab, you will see that it has got the permission, means the API gateway has got the permission to invoke this Lambda function. So this is managed by IAM in the AWS. We'll see that, we'll also see that in the upcoming videos. And so this is the monitor tab where you can see how many times this Lambda function has been invoked. And to see the logs, we need to go to the CloudWatch logs. So first thing, let's grab this URL and open this Postman. So let me shorten this. Right, so this is our Postman. Let me add one route over here, /dev. So let me hit this Lambda. Okay, not found. I believe we have given the path hello. Oh wow, now we are getting a successful response. One thing to notice over here, right, the input. If you go back and see, we have in the code section, we have given the input as an event. So whatever the event you are receiving from API gateway, we are getting in the event, we are logging it. Now let's go through it. So it's giving all the details, right? Which version you are using, what is the route key, right? What are the headers, right? All this, what are the request context, right? Who is requesting it, basically the API ID, if you see this, it will be matching with our this API ID, right? 0GJ. Right? 0GJ. Now you know the method, you know the path, protocol, the request ID, routes, and all this. So we haven't logged the context. We'll see in the upcoming videos that as well. Now one thing to test over here, right? So if we are passing any parameter, then where we will receive it. Suppose I'm name equal coding Jist. Okay, now you see that raw query string has been added over here. Now you are getting one additional field over here, query string parameters, right? Name as coding. So whatever the event means, whatever the things you are passing, you will receive as an event. So if anything which you want to read the input, pass the files or anything, so you will get it in the event. Now in the context part, so we have invoked this, right? Let me see if it is showing on the monitor. Right now, see, we have one successful invocation over here. Now let me see the CloudWatch logs, what it is showing. So to see the logs in the Lambda, you need to go to the CloudWatch. So one invocation, one log. Now you can see that we have successfully, so these are the things which is coming from the context, right? So what is the runtime, right? When it is initiated, what are the versions? All these things are coming in the context part. So let us log that as well. Let's see how it looks. Here, hello world function, we go to code, event, comma, let me log here like runtime colon context. So let me deploy this. Right now, let me trigger from here, send it. Okay, 200 successful. Let me close the input. Now you can see the runtime, right? Who is invoking this? From where? What are the trace IDs? What is the means all the metadata related, where it is running, what is the memory, what is all these things, right? It's coming as in a context. So I hope now this is clear what is synchronous event. So basically it is waiting for the response. That is what called synchronous event. Now what is asynchronous event, right? So let's simulate one thing over here. We will upload the file to the S3 bucket, and then Lambda will consume it and show us what file it has been uploaded, right? So for that, first let me create the S3 bucket. S3. Okay, let me create a bucket. Coding Jist file upload test. Right. So make sure your name should be unique. So you can let me know in the comments why the name should be unique in the S3 bucket. Right. So that's an interesting fact. You will understand. Right. So, or if you want me to create a video on this, then leave a comment for that as well. Right. So let me hit the create bucket. Okay. Uppercase character should not be there. Coding Jist create bucket. Okay, the bucket has been created. Now let me create another function. Right, let me go to functions once again, create function. Okay, last time we have created from scratch. Let's explore this option, use via blueprint. So we have different blueprints over here, right, which you can use for ready to use, right, basically. So let me use this get object function name. We are coding just s3 file. So always try to give a meaningful name, right? So what it is showing, it is using the runtime Node.js 22. Then role name s3 file process. Okay, let's leave this code as it is. We will change it later on. So let me choose the bucket. I have chosen the bucket. Event all object create events. That's fine. I acknowledge and then create function. It will take some time to create the function. Let's see. Okay, so it has successfully created. So one thing, if you notice over here, we have the same Lambda function. Then we have the trigger as an S3. So whenever you will upload a file to the S3 bucket, it should consume the file and do some activity. So basically, as of now, it is just showing this as an event where the file has been uploaded, right? So we want so let me modify this code and make that it should display the content of the file as well, right? So okay, so I have modified the code. So let me go through the code. So we are importing the AWS SDK client, S3 client. We are creating a new object, right? So we are reading the records from the event again, right? So it's the same handler function. If you notice, we are receiving this as an event. We are filtering out the record. We are then getting the bucket keys. Then we are passing it to the response, what we have got, what object we have got. Then we are transforming it to the file content, right? And we are printing it. That's it. And we are returning the status code 200. So let me deploy this. So to understand this architecture once again, we have first created the S3 bucket, and then we are adding a consumer over here, right, as with the Lambda, right? We have added this. Once we will upload the file, right, once we will upload the file to this, suppose we are writing hello, how are you in the file, right? And the file name is hello.txt, anything, right? Hello.txt. Then it should read this. Once you upload the file to the S3 bucket, it should consume the file, and means it will trigger to the Lambda that one file is uploaded, and it will display the content in the logs, right? So this is our test case. Okay, so this is deployed successfully. Now let's upload one file to this, right? Go to upload, add files. So this is hello.txt. First, let's go and see what is in hello.txt, right? So we have written hello test 1, 2, 3. Right? We have saved this file. Now let me upload this. Okay, open. So this file upload. Right. So now once we have uploaded this file to this S3 bucket, it should have triggered the Lambda, right? Let us go and see if Lambda has been triggered. Monitor. Okay, sometime monitor takes some time to reflect visually in a graph. So what we'll do, we'll go to the CloudWatch logs and see if it has processed the file. Okay, one log is generated for this. Okay, great. So as you can see here, right, so it has processed our file, right? So you can see the content hello test 1 2 3. So our test is successful for this as well, right? So to recap on this, what we have learned, what is event-driven pattern. In event-driven pattern, there are two main things. One is event and one is context. So event means what triggered the Lambda, what are the data coming to the Lambda, right? Basically to the consumer. In the context, it is a metadata where this Lambda is running or that resource is running, right? So we have seen one analogy as well. Means suppose you are receiving a letter or you are sending some letter, right? So the event will be the content in that letter and who is sending that letter, right? Suppose I am sending to you. So these are the part of event, what basically the input data, and who is sending, triggering is. The context means what all the path it has taken, right? Suppose you are sending the letter from Delhi to Bangalore, right? So what all path it has taken, right? So all those metadata, right? The delivery details will be the part of context. Then we have seen how many types of events are there, right? It is synchronous event, we have asynchronous events, then we have streaming events, and then we have seen the example of synchronous event and then asynchronous event. Hope this video is helpful for you. If so, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like this video, and also leave in the comment what next video you want to watch, and stay tuned. Thanks. Have a great day.